Hello, everyone, and welcome. And today we have our guest, Cassandra of Troy, who is a psych nurse and has a very interesting story. We're going to talk about a variety of topics, but say hello, everybody, Cassandra.
Hello, everybody, Cassandra.
Okay. so, as is tradition for my shows, we're going to talk about first your red pill origin story. Obviously, you weren't divorced, raped, or screwed over by a woman, being a married woman. But how did you
Screwed
get here?
over by plenty of women, but
I'm,
yes, never
I'm
married
sure.
one.
How did you get here? Like, how did you come to this point?
Um, well, I don't have a red pill origin story because I pretty much found out I've been red pilled all my life. Um, as far as coming to YouTube and finding out it was called red pill knowledge, that happened when I suffered multiple injuries from a car accident and um, broke my broke my foot and tore my Achilles, destroyed my knee, and I ended up. My husband was the one who actually told me to check out YouTube because I was non-mobile for about almost a year recovering. I had a head injury at the same time, so he suggested I look into this, and always thought I should get on YouTube anyway. He has a little channel,
Hmm.
so I I complied as a good wife should, right?
Yeah,
Anyhow,
absolutely.
so I another part of the story is I for the last 5 years prior to this, um, I started lurking on YouTube about 2 years ago. But prior to that, for 5 years, I was going through a pretty serious court case involving my mother and a guy and a gal um, ripped her off. She has early stage Alzheimer's, and
Hmm.
they took advantage of her and eventually defrauded her out of almost $1 million. She thought,
Wow.
yeah, she thought she was paying for his cancer treatment to help their family. They had her completely snowed. I was living in Las Vegas. She was living where she lives or used to live, and I found out about it um, when I went to visit her. She ended up in the hospital stressing out over it. Ended up with her lungs got blood clots in them. She almost died, and I drove all the way across country in one shot, 36 hours, and spent the next year and a half taking care of her. Well, the first day I got back, I found out that a man that I told her not to be in her life had stayed in her life, and that she had been giving him about $30,000 a month for the past 2 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, yeah. Everything my father worked for um, was near gone. So, yeah, my father was a um, blue collar worker, worked 2, 3 jobs all his life, took care of his sister, took care of his mother, took care of his family since he was a teenager, and everything was not everything was gone, but a lot was gone, obviously. So there I was with legal issues because as much as the town I was living in didn't want to get involved and help me, I went to court for 2 years to get this guy and his wife arrested. And
Hmm.
finally, he got jailed. She was the daughter of a prominent person in town and got off much easier. He went to jail supposedly for 7 years because he was also a year before I got him. He was also going to trial for statutory rape, and he got ultimately 7 years for me, but he's already out. So he got out last October.
Okay, so
Our legal system is beautiful.
right. Speaking of that, so you were watching YouTube, and it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, you were sort of into the skeptic type of stuff.
Oh yeah, I was pulled right into that. I started just watching anything and everything. I watched when you're sitting around for almost a year after I'm used to working 2 jobs, um, I went through hundreds, nay, thousands of videos and creators, etc., and found a little niche in the skeptic community. I thought I was um, pretty impressed with them, actually, because I'm a natural born skeptic. Also went through, the psychology sites and um, yeah, a bunch of different sites. It's pretty eclectic, the things I watch. But
All right.
that's how I came across Red Pill. I forget. Do you want the real detail of how it happened?
Well, try to, like I said, bullet points.
Yeah,
At
well,
some
in it,
point,
I know, right?
you came across Misandry today. So
Yes.
how did that interaction happen?
I came in on the tail end of the Gamergate drama. So Sargon of Akkad was big, and then he had a friend who was Kraut, and then there was this big Kraut doxing everybody fallout. So of course I had to learn what doxing was, and um, and then Miss Andrew Today had Kraut on, and so that's how I found out about Miss Andrew Today. Now prior to that, um, trying to think. I wish I had written this down. I apologize. I was also looking under legal stuff because I was looking for help for my case
Hmm.
because I went all around the state where I lived, and it's a pretty uh, everyone knows everyone throughout the state, and any lawyers or whatever I talked to would say, "Oh, you don't want to deal with this. I know this person," and all the way up the chain of the police, I couldn't get much help. Even the feds,
Hmm.
I had a hard time getting them to touch it. Um, that's a long story, but I couldn't get a lawyer except for the prosecutor to take it because they said it would be, and I'm not trying to be dramatic. They said it would actually be dangerous. So I was looking online for somebody, and then in listening to the Kraut Misandry Today interview, I started looking at to MGTOW because I found out he's MGTOW. So I looked into MGTOW and I was very impressed with it, actually. I said, if there's an answer to feminism, it's MGTOW. So I thought I liked those creators. So I listened to that. And eventually I um, wrote to Miss Andrew Today because I found out he had law experience. And he did seem to sound like he knew what he was doing. And he does know a lot about the law. I think he's accurate a lot. You would know also because you're also in, the law. So yeah, so I just reached out to him, and eventually he called. I think I was warning him about somebody. I said, "Watch out! This person's going to reach out to you," and they did. And he said, "Yeah, you're right. They actually did." And because I don't just listen to people, I analyze them.
Right.
Own way. So I just kind of predicted that he was going to have trouble. And I said, "Hey, just letting you know you're going to have trouble." He's like, "Hey, thanks." And I talked to actually quite a lot of creators, I would just tell them things or give them stories or
Yeah.
whatever. Well, so we started talking, and that's how I got to know him and talk to him about the case. And he eventually said he had worked with a lawyer who was going to help me with the case, which was a miracle to me because I had been so crushed by 5 years of fighting the court system, which I don't understand at all. I'm a medical person, I'm not a legal person. And I was just giving up and taking care of my mom, and then the car accident. So, yeah, it was strange times. Uh,
Right. So
yeah.
you were,
Then I had a motorcycle accident, so I tore
oh,
my knee up
boy.
again. It was good times.
Yeah, you were quite accident prone.
Yes, I am. That goes along with autism slash
Right.
Asperger's, which I also was diagnosed with back in my teens. So, yeah.
Indeed. So what kind of like I said, we're not going to harp on that
Oh,
particular
no, no,
guy
no.
for
That's
too
just how I
long, but it's a story that does need to be told. So what he told you, he's got you. He's going to handle it. Like,
Oh yeah, he said he would take care of everything. Well, we became friends. One of the reasons I was comfortable with him, not only, was he MGTOW, and I didn't know a lot about the culture of the internet back then. And I thought people were who they said they were. Silly me. And so he said to me the reason why we became friends was because he liked the way I always lifted up my husband when we spoke. He's like he thought that was a good quality. And you know my husband too. So
right. Yeah.
um, so that's kind of an irony that may show up later, but that's how we became friends. Um, I knew he was a MGTOW monk, and I trusted that. And he,
Well, you thought he was a MGTOW monk.
yes, yeah, that's exactly
Better
it.
way of putting it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Again, I also being autistic, you take people for their word. We can be kind of naive, so
Yeah.
um, yeah. So there was that. And I trusted that he would do everything he said he would. And even met the lawyer. And then he also introduced me to two other lawyers. And yeah, so that's how we ended up meeting. And he ended up moving out here from Seattle.
Right. You actually went and
Oh,
talked to
actually,
your
yeah, I
friend.
actually
Yeah, I
did
thought
not.
good.
Yeah, I flew out there and met him to see, if he'd be real and a friend. And he was understandably anxious about that too, because now I understand the whole doxing thing and how it can be pretty dangerous. It's stunning to me how cruel people are, but not so much because I have been in psych for so long. I just didn't understand the internet community and how it can be. But so I said, look, I'll come out there. You can meet me or not meet me. I don't care. And we met. And then we, he ended up 3 months later, I think, moving out with his son, actually. And they stayed at my mother's house, partly to kind of watch her as well and take over the case. And he was going through, I won't get into that, but
Yeah.
kind of had to move. And I
Yeah.
don't know
He
why.
was more running and he took an opportunity.
It's possible.
That's the way it seems to me.
Hmm.
Seems to be his MO actually. So what was one of the first things he said to you? Do you remember that
The first thing he said to me.
when you met him? Jumped in the
Oh,
car.
oh, one of the shocking things. Yeah, yeah. It was a bit shocking. And okay, understand, I am, I'm an older woman,
Yeah.
and so I've had people try to flatter me. I mean, people flatter you, and so
Sure.
I'm consider myself unflatterable. So you can say, um, "Oh, you're so sweet. Oh, you're so beautiful," and that's nice and good. And I say thank you, but I also say he would. I guess I could say he hit on me, and
Hmm.
this is relevant because later in the story, before the big blowout happened and you started your videos,
You're right.
I got to know APOC, and we
Hmm.
became very good friends because, as you know, we're both autistic.
Yes. Very
And
much so.
yes, so we have literally stayed on the phone for 12 hours before, and I do mean that literally. And so we were quite good friends. And uh, I lost my connection. I'm not used to phone talking. I'm used to face talking.
Sure.
Uh, so bring me back to where I was.
What are you
APOC.
talking
Oh
about?
yeah, the first
Yeah.
thing he told APOC when he got here. Now remember, he said APOC was his best friend, and I was his closest female friend or closest friend. and APOC was his best friend. Well, he told APOC he warned APOC that I was going to hit on him. And so he set up already a disadvantage, basically implying that I hit on Miss Andrew today and I'm going to hit on APOC, which I did. That was such a betrayal to me. And then I meet APOC and he's acting strangely around me. So I'm going to address it with him eventually, but I addressed it to DDJ. I said, gosh, she's acting so strangely. What he tells me, oh, he's just intimidated by strong women, which it's laughable. But so he knew we would all be living near each other, but he still wanted to keep us separated, all of us. And he did it with our whole group, unfortunately. And well, obviously, APOC and I, being the direct person that I am, and he too, I said, what's going on? I said, you're acting so differently. And he had been just watching me. And, he met my husband, and he said, all I had to do was watch you with your husband and say, no, there's no way she's going to hit on anybody.
Right.
So,
it's the thing about you autismos, man, especially APOC. Like you just know he's examining everything.
Like, yeah, and that's what I do as well. I watch every detail of what's.
And I've met APOC several times, by the way.
Yes,
he's a good friend of mine. I met him in person, but it's like when he's talking to you and he's looking at you, it's like you're under a microscope, though, because that's how his brain works.
Yeah, you see every micro expression, even if you don't realize it. You catch everything, and you bring it up to you. I've done it with you. When I, for instance, 5 minutes after I meet somebody, I can nail their personality, what they would be in the Myers-Briggs or now the Big Five.
I think you called mine was pretty close, but I'm kind of a
you're an INTJ.
Yeah, I mean, I've tested for ENTJ as well.
Yeah. Oh, because it's situational. I and E, if you sit in the middle, it's situational.
Oh, that sounds like me then.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, but you called it.
But and APOC, he's the same way, which is why we would have such interesting and long conversations, because we just we could finish each other's sentences, so to speak.
Yeah. I know how you are. Like, guys, when she says she can talk on the phone or whatever for 12 hours, it's like rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It doesn't end.
So that's why I got to keep you in line.
Yes, I told you, redirect me, because I didn't write a bullet point list. And you're free to redirect me. I'm
sure.
Directable person.
All right, so you were DDJ's landlady for a period of time.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, your husband is really who owns the property. Like, his name is on everything, is the landlord.
Yeah, which we found out, which was kind of funny.
Yeah, we know how he found out, by spying on you, basically, on your assets. Your financial assets.
Yeah, and I never cared, never knew. Yeah, so, I just give my paychecks to my husband, and he can do with them what he wants.
So, to close off this part of the story before we start talking about mental health stuff, now that we're kind of towards the end of your origin story, what happened? How did it end before? Let me rephrase that. What were the events that occurred that caused him to leave your property?
Oh, well, first of all, I predicted it would happen. And I had been communicating with my husband that it would happen. Bottom line is, after 2 or 3 weeks after APOC was here, and APOC he just got along, he just fit right into the family. He and my husband hit it off very well. And I got a sense that Bobby didn't like that. When APOC first got here, he had his back was blown from driving across country.
Yeah.
And I thought things would get better when APOC got here because Bobby would have more direction. His best friend would be here, or so-called, that's how I thought.
So-called best friend. Yeah.
And I thought that would, I guess, get Bobby to start following up on his word, so to speak. He wasn't doing a lot. I'll just put it that way.
Well, I talked to your husband, and he said that was the day APOC showed up at your place. That was the most work he'd ever seen DDJ do. Like, since he had lived with you guys or on your property.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Another thing,
So,
when he introduced me to these two other lawyers that worked in the same state as my mother lived, when he introduced me and was going over the case, I realized he didn't know anything about the case. I'd given him loads of paperwork and files on the case, and he just he couldn't even tell them the story. I had to end up doing it, which after a year, I would have thought he would have known something. And that kind of told me that he didn't take it seriously. And so bottom line, APOC gets here, his back is out. It goes out while he's in our house. And my husband and my husband's also a nurse. He literally picked him up and put him on the floor. And I'm also a massage therapist. So I worked his back out. I did massage therapy on him while my husband was there, everybody. And DDJ was there as well, but he later decided that APOC was faking, that he was a dark triad, which is probably everybody knows what it is, but it's psychopath, narcissist, and Machiavellian traits all in one. And he was faking everything and not the person he thought he was a drug addict. Just really went off the chains. And what came to a head, though I knew he was going to leave because he had already met someone who was wealthy and wanting him to live with him and basically support him. He suddenly turned against APOC and then turned against me because I wouldn't agree with him, which having studied personality disorders that I hadn't studied before because they don't typically go into treatment. So I do acute care. And having studied it, I realized that if you don't agree with this type of personality, they will disintegrate. Their whole mask will disintegrate. So that's what happened. I watched a collapse, and he was furious that I wouldn't believe him. And we were going to all meet and talk it through. And in that night, DDJ sent out a letter to my husband that I was having an affair with APOC, that if we came down to talk to him, he couldn't. It basically threatened him by saying, I can't guarantee his safety. That's what he said. You have the emails.
Yes, I have the emails, everybody. I just haven't put them in videos.
Yes.
I did send the emails and some other stuff to the Rule Zero crew, like Rolo Tomasi and them.
Right.
They have the unedited versions of all of them.
That was
permission. I sent that.
Yeah. That was, and what's interesting is he sent the email to my husband and to me,
right.
Which in a way he's trying to break up my marriage, or he said he would destroy me at one point. And I thought, you're going to destroy me. I'm not quite sure how. I don't know if that was a physical threat or he made other insinuations, but he sends it to my husband, and my husband immediately gives it to APOC. And then of course he accused me of breaking his trust and telling everybody the story, which I never did. Actually, I didn't meet you during that time, but you knew the story from everyone else. I didn't go to you or to Rose. I didn't tell anybody what was going on. I quietly just sat back, and he kept accusing me, and finally I had had enough. I said, I'm not doing anything to turn people against you. You're doing it yourself. You did it. And he just wouldn't take responsibility for it. We wanted to meet him and meet with him and work it through as something I'm used to doing. And
like adults.
Thank you. And unfortunately, and I know you all get on me for still, is it mercy that I have, or what? I understand why he is the way he is. And so I give him more leeway than most everyone else, even though you all understand as well. I guess that's my female brain, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I understand he's been through some shit, but
yeah. And I do believe him. I'm not sure everything he says is a fact anymore, which is sad. I've never had a person that I thought was a close friend this happened to me before. So yeah, talk about discovery to be my age. I just never let people like him into my life before. I allowed him in because I was at a weak point going through what I was going through with my mom and moving across country, giving up my job, not seeing, and my husband was across the country finishing up there so he could transfer here. It was a bad time. And I thought I had, gotten this wonderful friend that was promised he'd help. And I don't think I've ever asked for help before in all my years. So it was very trying.
Sure. Yeah, I just don't excuse people. I know people have, I don't have this awesome past either. I mean, I'm pretty well adjusted.
Yes.
But I'm not going to use that as an excuse to behave foolishly as an adult.
Yes. And here's the thing. I don't think it's no secret that he was an orphan, so to speak. He still had his parents, but he was put into foster care. And believe you me, I have taken care of kids in a psych ward, and I know their behaviors. I was prepared for some of that the blowback from that. And his upbringing did lead, or those traumas do lead to personality problems and trust issues, etc., as adults.
Sure.
And I did know that going in. But yeah, the way I'm going to use the word defamed or character assassinated me was just beyond belief. Like, even the new people he hangs with now, he had told all of them that I had an affair, and that's why he left. And it was, of course, it's all my fault and APOC's fault. And told my husband's gay.
Yeah,
he put together quite a few interesting stories.
Her husband likes to go on adventures and do dirt biking and stuff like that. And Mr. Blobby Lewis says he just goes out there and butt fucks everybody, basically. So,
yeah, so
he's not dirt biking, he's butt fucking, guys.
Yeah, which actually has become a meme in our community now.
It's a meme.
It's
Right, so he leaves, and
and it keeps going for a while, and then I blocked him everywhere.
Right. And then of course I start my video campaign.
Yes.
Which is for the most part over with.
Yeah.
Especially following this interview, there's probably one more thing that I want to get. I'm waiting on Rose Blades to get for me. But after that, I'm done. Like, he's pretty well bitch slap as far as I'm concerned. He's trying to switch gears and become a conservative pundit,
Yes.
type of person. So whatever, he'll find a new grift. They always do, these types. All right. So now that we knocked that out of the way, let's switch gears.
Sure.
Um,
I love to get off this subject.
we spent about 10 minutes extra than I had really planned on talking about.
Oh, and there's an hour more of backstory that I won't go
There's
into.
so much that we could cover, but I just didn't want to. I want to talk about other stuff, and
Yes.
I'm open the panel up to anybody who wants to come on and talk to Cassie and ask questions. All right, so we're going to leave some time frame for that if you guys are interested, or if you don't feel comfortable joining the panel, we'll get your questions from chat. But I wanted to ask you, so you've been hanging around the red pill community or the red pill sphere for probably 3 years now, roughly, give or take?
Yeah, I'd go with 2 years. Yeah.
Okay. Probably a little over 2 years.
Yeah, time gets distorted as you age.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. So what have you seen since you've been here? I mean, most people are fairly normal, but what kind of issues maybe have you seen that people in this community have?
Well, see, I've decided there are 2 separate areas of what people call red pill. Now, one is being red pilled, which is recognizing the truth of male and female interactions. Then it leads to the court system and how that's gotten so screwed up and one-sided that it is frightful. It would be frightful to get married, particularly for men. And so I understand that, quote, red pill knowledge, but red pill to me is as it is in the movie. It's reality versus the fiction you're being fed. So that goes into politics. It goes into, I'm not politically correct at all.
Right.
Yeah, it's looking at what's the truth versus what's the lie that we're being fed as a society, or the lies we are being fed. And yes, I do think feminism is a huge part of the problem. And I thought that since I can remember back when I was 10 and they'd be singing anything boys can do, girls can do better. And I lived near national, the NOW, Organization of Women, and I lived right near their hub. And so some of the people I grew up with, tried working with them, didn't work out. But I just I didn't believe anything they were saying. Now, when I was first or second grade, they tested us because they found out that, back then male and female brains are different, and they had tests for it. And when we tested, I was in the 3% of females that tested with male brains. And then obviously they just diagnosed autism years later, but I always thought more like men. Not to say that I don't have female stupid sympathy brain thoughts, but I can override them. And so I looked at MGTOW and I said, my gosh, this is brilliant. These guys, they really do have the answer to this. If you want to, shut this down, this craziness that I call feminism, this is one way to do it. Then I discovered the anger in MGTOW, and that I found disturbing, to where everyone, or it seems like many in that community, have this all or none thought. Like all females are like this, which is exactly what feminism does. All men are like this. And that disturbed me. So, that's what I've seen. And yet I also understand the stages of grief, and that red pill rage is the anger stage. I get it. but I see so many people stuck in that stage, and then believing that all women are like this. And though, don't get me wrong, most women are, and most of my female friends are, well, all of them are what would call red pill. Many of them are also autistic, and and then there's 75% that I just don't get at all. I don't understand them. Um, um, there is a feminine and masculine personality trait that the whole world, I mean, the whole PC world is trying to make us believe doesn't exist. We have women trying to be men. We have men who are raised only by women and are, well, what do you call them? Soy boys.
Yeah,
So that problem.
yeah,
Yeah, it's,
they're blessed by the soy for
yeah,
sure.
yes. So so I've been observing all this. Now in my pre-injury life, I had no idea this stuff was going on. I just saw what was going on in the psych world and in my little bubble, which was actually a very introverted closed bubble. Now that I've seen what's going on out there, I feel sad for everyone almost under 40 at this point.
Yeah, I kind of fall more into the Rollo Tomasi type of mentality. I never identified as a MGTOW. But when I became red pilled, I just, I wanted to hang out with other red pill people. And that's how I ended up in, MGTOW servers, because I was like, these guys are red pill too. I mean, I knew there were other forums. There wasn't a whole lot of forums or places to chat. So I ended up, just hanging out in the MGTOW server. And that's how I ended up becoming a moderator, because certain individuals love my memes.
Oh yes, you have great memes.
And the way I handle conflict. I would say I'm probably the most laid back mod in that server. People will agree. But yeah, that's how I became that. But I've never been a MGTOW, and they've never really talked shit or given me problems. But what I can say is, I agree. The red pill ragers have been a real problem, especially since some of the ragers, they've been around for years. Like, the red pill rage is not something you should be in for very long.
Exactly.
I understand that it's part of the process, but if you've been red pill, so to speak, for 3 years and you're still red pill raging, something ain't right.
Yeah, and it's. I hate to use, it's true, right and wrong, but you hate to use those terms because everyone proceeds at their own pace. But it is so detrimental, and that's what we mean by wrong. It's so detrimental to your mental health, to your physical health, to to your social health. And that's what I've seen. I mean, I've been blasted by many in red pill rage, and many times I just, yeah, but it doesn't bother me. I am very much, I got tested by pretty much everybody, and it just rolls off my back, and I can shit talk with the rest of you, and yeah, it doesn't bother me. And I've seen women come into your space and cause trouble and sorry autists, but and all the other things that go on, and so I would kind of talk to them too, and that's where I realized there's no making a difference, I feel, anymore. But there do need to be more females, red pill females, out there calling these other ones on their bullshit. Call bullshit, So that's what I've been doing on the side a little bit.
Right. Well,
I'm also recovered from all my injuries and back to working full time, and the COVID has been fun. I've been exposed.
I actually want to ask you about that later on.
Okay.
You say I'm a discovery interviewer, so
Yes.
I want to ask but not right now because we're on kind of
Right. Red pill.
we're doing something else.
Yes.
Guys, I see that Shogun asked a question. Please save your questions for the end. And again, when we get towards the end, you will be welcome to come on. I will put the StreamYard link in.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
And you guys will be welcome to come on and ask your questions. She likes to talk, so we'll be here.
Yeah. I like to talk more face to face, but
Yes.
this is new to me. So if it's new to you, we're in the same boat.
Yeah, she's a borderline boomer, so give her,
Yes.
you know, and I mean that in the literal sense, not
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people would call me a millennial boomer, I guess, because of my
Right.
age, you know.
Yeah. No, I'm about as close to a boomer as you can be without officially being a boomer. So,
Okay, so what were we talking about? Lost my train of thought.
oh, derailed. Yeah, I get it.
No, Rose, this isn't going to be a 6-hour stream where we whine and cry about height and jawline, okay? It's not going to happen.
About height and jawline?
Yes. You get the reference, right? I'm sure.
I do.
Okay. All right. So, what were we talking about?
Yeah. Oh, well, we were talking about the MGTOW red pill rage, and
Yes.
and then how then there's arguments within MGTOW, who's real MGTOW,
Yes.
who's an incel. That to me seems silly. Does that make sense?
Well, I don't know. I think it's important. Again,
It is important. Yeah, I don't.
It's an incel invasion, and a lot of those guys, coincidentally, are the red pill ragers.
Yes, a lot are, but you know how I feel about this. I think people think they're incels when they're not, and not really. I think anybody with work could de-incellate themselves.
Most.
Yes, yeah. Most by far.
Most could. Some guys don't give themselves enough credit, or they think that they should look like the guy who plays Thor in the Marvel movies or something. We actually had a dealing with a black pill guy. I'm sure you know about it. Modern Life Dating, myself, Rose, all tried to help this guy, and he wasn't a bad looking dude, but he just didn't want to do the work.
Yeah. Well, he sounded very socially awkward.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one. That's a tough battle. That's a tough.
Not just that. Cassie, he didn't bathe very well. He admitted that he didn't bathe that often, so he smelled like BO. Drank, had substance abuse problems, things like that. So
yeah,
you can't have those kinds of problems and then just say it's because I'm not 6 feet, I'm ugly, and
right. It's very easy to find excuses that you have no control over. For instance, I'm not 6 foot. That's a nice excuse, but it doesn't hold out in the real world.
I'm 5'9" and I've never had problems.
Exactly.
Put it to you that way.
Yeah. And so that's an easy way to avoid responsibility for your own shortcomings. And it's some people are just going to have to work harder than others, and that's not fair. But that's reality. That's a red pill. So,
well, you may not be able to get the 9s and 10s. I think that's a problem too. But that's
well, they're overrated.
That's kind of cliche because not all these guys that are saying they're incels, want the 9s and 10s.
Right.
They just want these guys, these incel guys. They just want their pee-pee touched, but it's not. They don't want to pay a hooker. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They want a woman to actually want them. That's the entire crux of it. Because anybody with $100 in their pocket can get taken care of.
That's right.
In that way, but that's not what they want.
Yeah.
But I think
they
that's
want a relationship.
Yeah, I mean they just maybe not even the relationship. They want the woman to desire them. That is like, that's it. But
Yeah.
I think it's important because there's a lot of, I don't want to talk about MGTOW itself because I'm not a MGTOW, and some people are, some of my audience are, and I don't, obviously I'm friends with you guys, but there's a lot more. Like MGTOW is just one part of the red pill sphere. It's one tribe, I guess you could say, and there are others. I don't know.
Right.
I think the PUA thing is we need to find something else because right now they're trying to say PUA, MRA, and MGTOW. I think PUA is basically dead. There are guys that go out and run, that know how to talk to women or game, but game is not like an act if it's a part of who you are. And that's what a lot of guys don't get about it.
Right.
But PUA is basically dead. It died like a couple of years ago.
Good.
It's been dead. It's not to say there ain't players out there like.
Oh, of course. But see, that's so detrimental to our society. Also, PUA just kept feminism going.
It's a reaction to feminism, basically making sex cheap.
Right, but then feminism is a reaction to. You see what I'm saying? It's a cycle, and the society keeps going too far in either direction, and not meeting in the middle or stopping at the middle. And so my argument is we need to stop.
Well, this crazy train has no brakes. You see
That's what it seems like. Yep, it certainly does seem that way.
Honestly, the longer this goes on, I'm starting to think we need the Sonny Crockett solution.
I agree. I love Sonny.
A lot of people won't get what I'm saying, but don't worry about it. It's a joke.
Yeah, exactly. And let me tell you, I understand black pill. I sometimes consider myself maroon pilled because a little red and a little black because it does seem pretty hopeless out there sometimes.
Well, I subscribe more to the Devin Stack black pill.
Yeah, I really like him.
I mean, let me put out. I've said this before, but let me put out what I actually think of black pill. They are right on, just like MGTOW, they're right about a lot of things. But that whole it's over, bro. You're not 6 feet. It's over.
Yeah, that's faulty thinking.
You're accurate. They're accurate. Like say that face and LMS kid. He's accurate when he points out like what women find more attractive than.
Right. Well, that exists with men too. Men find. Oh, I'm sorry. But men find certain things more attractive about women, females. I mean, so it goes both ways. Oh, and I see someone just wrote about shilling the dollhouse. Absolutely. Get a doll. I'm big proponent.
If that's what you want, I don't judge people. It's not.
No, not at all.
Obviously, I'd like to have a family and all that fun stuff. So I'm not really. That's not my thing. But I don't judge people who want.
Oh heavens, no! I think it's a great idea, and so
as long as you are actually red pill, I really like. Yes. I see it as like your red pill. Here's the direction you want to go. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Whatever. If you want to go MGTOW after being red pill, that's on you. If you want to try to, do what I'm going to do and still date women and maybe find one worth keeping around,
mm-hmm.
do that. If you want to be an MRA, but I think MRAs, I would classify them as purple pill at this point. That's mm-hmm. kind of like I've just seen stuff they say, and they almost like sound like second wave feminists, to me. But
I've been thinking that myself.
Yeah, they're a bunch of purple pill power bottoms. As, one freak show would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think right now I'm talking just to talk. So next question.
Okay. Well, I was asking about what sort of, um, we kind of went off on a tangent, but
Yeah, easy to do.
as far as like mental health problems was what I meant to ask you about. Like,
Mhm.
what sort of things have you been seeing in the red pill community since in your two, plus years hanging around?
Well, what I see is a lot of depression, and I've seen it now that I'm back working in the acute setting. I see I'm seeing an awful lot of men um, who have been displaced, and depression, suicidal ideation, suicides, drug addiction. Um, yeah, we're destroying our men, the society, and and now that I've been in the red pill and learned about the court system, the legal system, I see why. And it's actually helped me guide some people towards solutions. So, the red pill community has really helped me um, not only open my eyes, but can directing um, patients and letting them know they're not alone when they have their life pulled out from them. So, but it's depression, and which can lead to drug abuse, which then takes you down the rabbit hole toward isolation. And
I definitely see a lot of depression.
Mhm.
Um, some people actually, are diagnosable, like they have um, actual problems, and other people are just the red pill is hard for them. It's hard for
Yes,
them to accept. Um, and I understand, like I've always said, things like they feel like their future has been stolen from them.
yes,
That being said, though, basically the red pill should show you a new world, and you just have to learn how to navigate the new world and stop with the old blue pill expectations of how things are supposed to go, because that was an illusion, that was a trick.
yeah. And it's not in a way. Now it still can. It still can. Um, every we we have to adapt in society and understand what our positive and negative traits are, and focus on the positive and try to change the negative. Everybody needs to do that, men and women, all people. And that's where we flipped, is everyone's taking on the opposite traits and negative traits, and the selfishness or the narcissism is exploding, and I think media and the internet is feeding it. Um, the internet. This is another problem: is being locked down on the internet. That is not. It's not real life, in the sense of I had no idea how suspicious and angry and downright cruel some people can be. It's one thing to joke around, or it's good to be able to say what you want to say, but you can't trust anybody. And it's only, what is the internet? 10% of the world, the population.
They're connecting everybody. I mean,
But people are getting forced into their echo chambers, which are very comfortable. Even social media does that. You start to believe that everyone thinks the way you do, or the world is just like this. And because I've spent most of my life not on the internet, I also see that it's not all one way. That there are many people out there who don't even know about YouTube, who are just living their lives and living that quote blue pill, what someone would call blue pill life, in the sense of unaware of red pill, blue pill, getting married, having kids, staying together. That still exists. Even in 30-year-olds. They're just not on the internet. Yeah, they're not on the internet. They're living their lives. Don't get me wrong. I love the people I've met on the internet, with
well,
exceptions. with some exceptions.
If you, when you're about my age, do you understand it? Pretty much everybody's on the internet. My fucking grandma's on the internet.
Yeah, no.
My grandma is on social media shit posting on the fucking internet.
Yeah, and that's awesome. That's
Like
funny.
80 years old.
Yeah, and that's funny. But I can tell you so many are not. And I think I've read that it's still a very low percentage. It's, of people who are.
I think so.
Now it's blown up because of the Rona. The Rona's blown it up. And I know that because everyone's stuck at home.
I'm not going to agree with you on this one.
I know we never agree on this.
Most people are on the internet, and to be honest, you know, boy, should I even say this? Like, I occasionally get DMs from married women who are younger than me.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can guess the nature of these DMs.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. And now, while that's anecdotal, I mean,
well, there's that. And again,
if you knew, like,
if
saw the front that these people put on, like, they're so happy.
Right.
But
well, again,
I'm sliding into my DMs wanting some action.
Right. And they're sliding into 100 other people's DMs as well. So a smaller percentage, I believe, are doing a large amount of damage, sort of like feminism, Antifa, BLM.
Well, you're talking about a vocal minority. I don't know. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I've from the blue pill shit. So, like, say if I had like a wife, I'm unlikely to get married, but let's say I had a girlfriend that I was going to keep around, and she started cheating or whatever. I just started fucking somebody else. And, I mean, obviously I'd throw her ass out, but
right.
I'm not going to like my life is over, or,
Right. Well, that's Rollo Tomasi. There's no one. That's true. There is no one. Even when you're with someone for forever, you can't lock down on one person because anything could happen that makes it fall apart. I mean, even I've been cheated on before with my one of two other relationships, and some people move on better than others, I guess. I don't agree with just going out with somebody else right away. That's not going to do you or the other person, the new person, any good.
You need to actually end it before.
Yes. And I mean, completely end it. I mean, really, you need to start with agreements, and you start there. Jordan Peterson is right on a lot of things, and he's very right about relationships and how they should be.
That's key word. You said
should. I know.
Should. That's not how they actually work.
Well, no, they actually do. They still do.
I agree with Jordan Peterson either.
Yes, but Wolf, they actually do. You forget. Not only do I work out in the world, my husband works out in the world, and I'm talking with hundreds of people, and we know many, not just us. I'm talking about, I even have friends across the country out in the world, and they know more people not on the internet than on the internet. And they know people, who are quietly raising their kids, working and going to church and, being a part of their community. This still exists. They're not on the internet all the time. And I'm not against being on the internet. I think I've learned so much and I've met great people, but I'm a big proponent in meeting people face to face.
Oh yeah. That's why, that's the way I am too. Like, I don't know. I've never really gotten into the online dating shit. So, because I prefer to actually meet people.
Yes. I mean, meeting someone online is fine. But before all these emotions get caught up and people are like, yeah, I have a boyfriend. And then they've never even met face to face. It's like, well, no, not really.
Well, yeah. Oh, goodness.
Not really. You don't really have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And if you haven't argued, you're not even friends yet, let alone boyfriend, girl.
What I've said is like, there are people that I know who believe that they are, in a relationship, very famous quote, with someone they've never met in person and they've only talked to on like Discord. And,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
no offense to you, but that's not a real relationship.
Yeah. You mean, and when you say you mean everybody.
Yeah.
Because it's not. It's really not. And I see someone wrote "forget twatter." That's right. It is the worst. But I do go and troll there.
That's all I do. That's all I do on any social media is shit posts. A lot of people don't realize that, but I just shit post. I found out a long time ago. There's no reason to take that shit seriously.
No, absolutely.
So why not just have fun with it? That's Look at my Twitter. Look at I'm not gonna give out my personal, but I shit post on my personal social media, like to family members and friends.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm probably gonna offend you guys and make you delete me, but here you go. I'm an asshole. Take it.
I see Arrow Shogun. I hate arguments. Oh gosh, I hate them too. When they get personal, which is what you try to avoid, but you have to disagree to learn something. You have to know a person's style of argument, because let me tell you, that's when you really find out who a person is how they handle disagreement. And that's why don't even date until you've had a disagreement. Your friends disagree, see if you can recover. No, they're necessary. Many men think that too. Men fight it out. You see them fighting all the time. Well, it can turn to heated arguments. You're going to have them. It's inevitable. Arguing is inevitable. I'm talking to Arrow Shogun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's
try to save that for the end. Shogun, if you want to come
sorry, I just looked over and got sucked in.
I'm going to put the StreamYard link in the chat soon. I want to talk about, to switch gears once again, I want to talk about, you mentioned the corona shit. Now, what I see is like a mass psychosis of like, we all have to wear masks or we're all going to die. And like, I say, fuck that mask. The only reason I've worn a mask because I had no other choice. Like, you kind of got to get groceries. And even then, like, I don't even wear it the whole time. Like, sometimes I just go in without it and just, they say, you're going to have a mask. And I just like ignore them.
Yeah. Masks to me are more of a social band-aid, psychological. You feel like you're doing something. Now, it's my opinion, this has gone way too far.
This is typical lefty scum shit, though. Like, they're saving the world by wearing a goddamn piece of cloth on their face.
And does it reduce? Do they reduce transmission? Possibly, probably by a percentage. I know people who've worn masks all the time and they get the virus. So,
because you would know because you work in a hospital.
Yep, and I'm watching the hysteria up front and personally, and
look, I'm seeing on my social media, Cassie, like someone posted a picture of a person who refused to wear a mask when someone who was vulnerable asked them to wear a mask. And they took a picture. They basically doxed this person at their workplace and everything. Took a picture of them, started spreading it around social media. And that just really, really infuriates me. Because masks, as Bellberg said, masks are a fucking meme. They barely protect anything. I understand the droplet thing. Okay, yes. If you spit when you talk, or you're sneezing, or you're coughing,
absolutely
understandable. But
if you are symptomatic, don't go out. But if you can, because you won't be symptomatic for long anyway. Or wear a mask. Or if you're 6 feet away.
Cassie.
Yeah, 6 feet away. It's not gonna transmit if you stay 3 feet away if you're not coughing. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Let's be honest. It's a fucking respiratory illness unless you live, I've said this before, and unless you live in a fucking bunker deep in the woods away from everybody else, you're going to get exposed to it. Don't matter if you wear a stupid mask or you don't wear a stupid mask, you're going to get exposed to it. And
oh, absolutely.
You live or die. It's not that I don't feel bad for the people who are vulnerable, who may die if they get it. That sucks. But
we could have been boosting everybody's immunity. We should have been boosting everybody's immunity this whole time, and we didn't. That's the one big failure that it seems the doctors that bring this up get shut down, and they're completely correct. They're going to find this as, I think they've already actually have the idea that this is more virulent than the flu, but that is probably because it's a novel virus, but it's less deadly than the flu, equal or less. And yet we've gone into mass hysteria over it. And I can tell you, I know for a fact the numbers are wrong. The reported deaths are still being attributed to corona no matter what happens. Half the numbers are suspected corona, but were never tested. It's ridiculous. And I believe, it's political, but that's me.
It comes out of Dr. Fauci's mouth is just,
oh my gosh.
And there's him like sitting next to people with not wearing his mask.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they know. Yeah.
Politician, do as I say, not as I do, bullshit, plus his connections to the company that's going to be making the vaccines.
That's right. Which there's no way I'm taking it. So there's that. But that's a whole other.
Cassie, you're just medical personnel. Dr. Fauci knows everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, look at how he handled AIDS. If you go back and research, the way AIDS was handled and how many people died that didn't need to, this is a rinse repeat.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, that's a whole stream because I have links for everybody.
Right. You and your cat can vote for Biden. Yeah. Through the mail.
Exactly.
Through the mail.
Yep. I mean, we never applied to have mail-in voting, but it came to us. They say, "Oh, you apply for it," and blah blah. No, they're sending them out to everybody.
Here's a sheet. That's why they're doing it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. They've already proven that this isn't working, in smaller elections. So yeah.
Would you consider this like a mass psychosis plus virtue signaling or anything?
Oh my heavens!
Obviously, You can't diagnose anything. Not me.
No. That's I'm not. I am not here to diagnose anybody. But this is cult thinking.
Yeah, and I've heard doctors can diagnose people over the internet that they've never met. By the way, I'm not sure if you heard about that.
Yeah,
according to one particular individual.
Yeah. But no, I'm just a scamdemic. That's funny because I've heard plandemic, and I certainly go for that. But scamdemic's a great name.
All right, guys. We're past an hour, so I'm going to drop the link if you guys want to come on and ask. If you have any questions, comments, you want to come on the panel here. There you guys go.
Yeah, and being that this is my first official stream, I'm going to repeat that, that I'm already anxious about talking to more than 4 people at once. So if you're nervous about coming on, we'll be in the same boat. So feel free. Because I think Wolf told me that some people don't even want their voices on internet for fear of being doxxed. And now that I've learned more about that, I completely understand why that is.
Well, there are some weirdos that will be like trying to get your workplace and all this and that for no reason.
Yeah,
Reason.
that is very bizarre to me. Just to try to destroy someone over a disagreement, or someone said mean words or whatever. That's something that's new to the world. I'll tell you that. Even I have to be careful. My job is, they're monitoring Facebook and anything they can connect you to. It's crazy, and it's worse. It's worse now, politically speaking. We can't talk politics or anything or opinions, even online.
Hell, I worked for the Department of Defense, and I didn't give a rat fuck. Like, people even found my YouTube, my old YouTube, and it wasn't a big deal. But I worked with a bunch of mostly combat vets. Not all of them were combat.
Mm-hmm.
They were all veterans.
Yeah, I worked in a couple.
I see you backstage. We're going to have Shogun on.
Awesome.
Welcome to the show, Shogun. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Shogun.
Hello, Cass. Hello, Wolf. It's good to hear you again.
So
this is my. Sorry.
I said it's good to have you on, man.
Thanks. Good to be back. So this is my very first time ever actually getting to speak to you, Cass.
Yes.
I've seen you online several times, but I've never actually spoke to you before. So this is the first to me. Never heard your voice.
Oh, hi.
That is a good question, Seek. We'll definitely try to get to that.
All right. Well, the first thing I wanted to ask was, you know what? Before I even asked this, I wanted to continue on the coronavirus talk, because this is something I feel like I'm not so much online, but it's as if I'm alone in the real life spaces when it comes to knowing the truth about the virus, because the CDC has also already reported, after basically removing all the bogus claims that all these deaths are really COVID deaths when they're really not. They're basically just counting things like the flu, the pneumonia, common cold, and so forth as coronavirus. And you'll even see that in the stats where they actually stop reporting it altogether, to the point where it went all the way down to zero.
Right.
You also had hospitals that were claiming these deaths were of coronavirus because they get a certain amount of money for every death they report.
Mm-hmm.
So that artificially inflated the death count by a lot. And the majority of the deaths have actually been the elderly in nursing homes.
Yes.
If you're not elderly, if you don't have pre-existing conditions, there is a negligible to zero chance that you're going to die of this virus.
Exactly.
And also, with Dr. Fauci, it's already been brought up. Now, he's flip-flopped on so many different things. Because at first he was actually saying that this is no big deal. It's like the flu. It's when you get it, it's going to be a one and done thing, and it's not that big a deal. And you'll probably get maybe one or two healthy people in a blue moon die of it, and that's about it.
Yes.
Right. But then he started getting promoted, especially by the left, because he's basically being used as a pawn to prop up Biden. Because the more they talk about this, the more they talk about coronavirus, and the more they put people in the state of fear and state of panic, then the more the Democrats go up in the polls, particularly Biden.
Right.
But because initially the number of people that believe that the country was going in the right direction has dropped significantly ever since the coronavirus panic. They believe that Donald Trump himself was actually not doing anything to prevent the virus from actually reaching U.S. shores, where there was a time where he actually wanted to close the U.S. border. But people were saying, "Oh no, that's racist."
Right.
And then now they're like, "Oh no, Trump, he didn't do anything. Yeah, everything is Trump's fault." No, please excuse me.
No, you're right. Trump derangement syndrome is a thing.
Oh yeah, definitely. My family has it. both on my mom and what appears to be my dad's side of the family also.
Oh, that's a crying shame.
Yeah, well, I live in a black family, and most black people are strictly Democrat, so it doesn't matter. I mean, Biden has been known to say racist comments.
Hmm.
I mean, you can even look them up and fact check it and find
Yeah.
out that it's been true.
Yeah.
And they will still vote for Biden just because no, Democrats good, Republicans bad. That's how stupid it is.
Yeah, it's
But
such
yeah,
indoctrination. Yeah.
right. But the thing is that you just can't. It's like you just can't break people out of this mode, no matter how many facts that you throw at them. They'll basically just bring up anything that they can find just to say they can blame Trump.
Yep.
Like, for instance, there was one person that was saying Trump actually commissioned the CDC to actually lower the death count in his favor to make him look better in the polls. Well, in fact, that doesn't even make any sense because you've had several doctors from several different sources. I mean, and not to mention the recent one that just got shut down. Well, a group of doctors actually posted a viral video to actually get the word out saying that not only is coronavirus not that big a deal, but the hydroxychloroquine, it actually does help, at least based on their findings.
Yeah, it doesn't just help. With zinc, it really does turn it around.
Right. But not only did that get shut down, there were doctors that were doing documentaries beforehand, and even biotech research companies that were doing research on this virus. Even they got censored by YouTube, Google, and so forth.
Yep.
Now, I brought this up to one person who I normally do respect and can normally have a good conversation with, and he immediately dismissed it, saying, "Well, they must have been posting misinformation." Well, let's assume that this was true. Let's assume that this was all misinformation. And this is all something to be discredited. Now, what do you do when misinformation is being posted or being spread around? You debunk it with the facts.
Exactly.
If the facts are on your side, if you are so confident that your way is the right way, then why don't you bring out your facts to the table, debunk it, create your own viral video, and dismiss them and dismiss it completely afterwards? You see, I can't speak for everybody else. But I have a functioning brain. I know how to determine for myself, or should I say discern for myself, what's true and what's not true. But he kept going on saying, well, you can't spread misinformation. And he was saying, well, you're looking too deep into this. And I said, no, I'm actually asking questions that nobody else is asking. I'd say you're not looking deep enough into it yourself.
Right.
It's not to insult his intelligence, because I think he's clearly a leftist. He lives in California, but he's actually among the more reasonable leftists that I've come across, especially on the net. Because the other people, they get super pissed when you try to give them an iota of good news that doesn't come from a source that they trust, so to speak. Now, I'm sorry, I kind of just like took control of this conversation.
No, it's
you said some interesting stuff. So
I'm here to mostly listen and agree or disagree.
All right.
Answer questions, and every single thing you said, I agree with.
All right, wonderful.
It doesn't happen often with me.
Yeah, nobody can ever truly agree 100%.
Oh, of course not.
I'll definitely give you that, because if there's one thing I do enjoy, it's actually debating. Now, but the only problem I have with debating nowadays is that it's like everybody has this mentality that I must win.
I know.
And I'll do everything to win. And when you back them in a corner, they get really defensive. Then it comes to the ad hominems and the other logical fallacies to the point where it's like, I just can't take these people seriously anymore.
Yeah. And it's a crying shame, because debate is to learn both sides and then learn something more. And maybe you can change your mind. So what? If you get more facts, then go with it. Why?
Right.
But it attacks a person's ego, their self-worth. They take it so personally, and that is what's astonishing.
Right. Now, there's a guy who was on the Monkey Business server, or at least he was. Now, his name, he goes by Dr. Weird. Now, I like the way he put this. He said that scientific advances sometimes tend to go like 1 leap per lifetime or something like that.
Yes.
Because you have scientists, what they do is they are protecting their own self-interests and their own image and reputation. Like, remember Heisenberg versus Schrodinger. Now, everybody was supporting Schrodinger, and turns out that Heisenberg was right.
Mhm.
Now, just because the majority believes something is wrong doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean
right.
it is wrong.
That's a full fallacy. Yeah.
Right. And here's a very stupid example. Let's say the majority of the world believe that 2 + 2 = 5.
Mhm.
And some political party was able to pay some formerly reputable mathematician to say that 2 + 2 = 5. If you have a functioning brain, you can add the numbers to yourself and get 4 every time.
Mhm.
It's just if you think about it and you know the facts and you're able to find the trail yourself, then
Mhm.
then you'll either know what's wrong or you know something is suspicious. And that's basically what I was trying to point out. And this guy, he was just not having it.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
It truly
Yeah.
is.
When you come to all facts should lead to the same conclusion. And if you come to different conclusions, somebody's wrong and they missed a fact. It's like you can do a theorem. You can make a theorem to make 1 = 2 with proof, but there's a fallacy in the proof. But if you don't see it, you can say, "Oh my gosh, 1 = 2." Well, no, it doesn't.
Right.
Yeah. Go on.
Well, okay, so there was another example of coronavirus that I was going to bring up. Now,
Okay.
TFM and I had talked about this on the show. It was yesterday. Now, you'll notice how a country like Sweden didn't shut down its economy.
Right.
They basically did what they could to protect the vulnerable, and as a result, they had one of the highest deaths per capita, not highest death rates, because if you confuse the two, then that just blows everything out of proportion.
Right.
Now, it was similar to the U.S. Now, the thing about the thing is that this is what I believe. Now, you'll notice how the death rate actually went down to near zero. They peaked in April, and things went steadily down, and things are pretty much back to normal in Sweden.
Mhm.
Now, I don't really like to speak positively about Sweden's politics a lot for
No.
reasons that many of you already know.
For
But
good
this is
reason.
one thing that they did right.
Mhm.
You see almost the exact same thing in Japan, where they merely suggested that businesses actually, put their operations on hold, people wear masks and so forth, and they stay home until further notice. People
Mhm.
complied. They acted like reasonable adults, and they said, you know what, we're going to do this because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. And Japan is fine. Japan does not have like a mountain of bodies or anything like that.
Mhm.
And one thing I honestly believe is that with this virus, is that you have to build up your immunities. You can't, if you put somebody in a bubble their entire life, their immune system doesn't know how to fight off infections. It's kind of like that movie Bubble Boy, where
Right.
he was
In
born
the bubble.
without, right, he was born in a bubble. He didn't have immunities, or at least he developed immunities eventually, but his parents wanted to keep him in that bubble because keeping them in that bubble was just preferable to them. But by keeping him in that bubble, there's so many diseases that would have actually that he was supposed to catch on early on, like smallpox or no chickenpox,
Yep.
not smallpox. Now, if you catch that as an adult, it can be dangerous.
Mhm.
There are some diseases that you want to get out. You want to get it and get it out of the way as soon as possible.
Yep. Many viruses. Yep.
Right. And I can't say the same for this one, but you'll notice how children are not only largely unaffected by coronavirus,
They're not
they
even
are far less likely to even spread it.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. And on top of that, I wouldn't be surprised if, let's assume like for 5 minutes that this virus is here to stay and this is just going to be a yearly thing. I wouldn't be surprised if a child's immune system was actually better equipped to handle it than an adult. Now, there's no evidence for that. I'm not asking anyone to quote me on that or say that, well, Shogun said that and therefore I believe it. No, please don't do that because I have zero evidence for that. But it's just my hypothesis based on other viruses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying it wouldn't surprise me that if children were exposed to this and got it out the way as an adult, their immune systems would know how to handle it.
Absolutely.
Now, I understand.
It'll be strengthened. There's no question.
Right. So So with that being said, can you really shield everybody from every virus? Are you going to tell people to stop having sex just because they might get AIDS or they might get syphilis or gonorrhea or whatever? No, you can't. You see, people are going to do what they're going to do. And frankly, the Darwin Award exists for a reason.
It does.
Because if you do something stupid and you pay the price, the ultimate price, then you're just an example to the rest of the world as to what not to do.
Exactly.
Now, I don't need so yes, I do agree that wearing masks is bogus. I don't believe the masks even do anything. Now, there's been a lot of argument whether HEPA filters actually filter coronavirus or not. Because I believe coronavirus is 0.125 microns in size on average.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard something about HEPA filters not being able to filter anything that's below 0.3. Now, there's been arguments against that. I have to look more into that because I find that when you Google something, it's very biased in favor of their narrative. So going to DuckDuckGo is mostly yielded better results in most things. But the thing is that they're politicizing this.
Absolutely.
It's like, no matter who I tell, especially, and I don't mean to make this a race thing, but especially when it comes to Black people who vote Democrat, it's like they never listen to me. It's like, oh, you're young, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, okay, fine. But I'm not going around wearing a mask. I mean, if I have to, I'll put it on temporarily, and then after the need does not arise, I'm sticking it back in my pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Exactly.
I'm sorry, just one more thing. The only reason, yeah, but aside from that, the only reason I wear a mask is not to protect myself, but is because stupid people just want to feel safe.
And that's exactly it. I think masks are more for psychological welfare than for any physical assistance. Unless, of course, people are hacking and coughing and spitting, but
Sure.
they're psychological barriers. Unfortunately, they also make us sicker. So there's that problem. I wear one 13 hours every day. I have to. And I walk around with a sore throat constantly.
No, that's true. Breathing in your germs and CO2 all day.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I don't wear my shit. So Shogun, feel free to keep hanging out, man. You're welcome to stay on the panel. We do have some questions that Cassie has been asked, so we'll try to get to those.
Yes, I do have a question I wanted to ask her.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I kind of asked it a little too early, but I'll ask it again. I'm curious as to how you're going to react to this, but do you value freedom or security?
Say that again.
Do you value freedom or security?
Ooh. I lean toward the free side, the freedom side. But I don't discount security in certain situations.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I'll just do a quick example here. I don't believe in one world order, globalism. I think each country runs itself, just like each state runs itself. But so when you look at the country and individuals, we have our freedom. But I'm also pro-border. So, I think there needs to be regulation as far as, border crossings, following basic law, constitutional. I'm a constitutionalist. So, but I lean more towards libertarianism. So, so yeah, I'd say I'm more freedom than security.
Okay, so let me rephrase it. I probably should have clarified this. Now, that is a good answer.
You're talking to an autist, so I'll go very literal. Like, I have a freedom to have the gun to secure my house.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, yes,
so you have to remember that.
Oh yeah, I'm a gun owner as well. I'm a big fan of guns. I still itching for a chance to fire my Mauser rifle.
Oh, nice.
Yep, 7.92 by 57. Put a deep hole in wherever it hits.
Beautiful.
Yep. But anyway, I guess I probably should have asked you. But you know what? Maybe you probably did sum it up nicely enough. But I'm trying to think of the best way to put this because usually I'm not the best with words.
I'm not either.
Because normally I'm more of a listener
Mm-hmm.
and a spectator. But think of it this way. So when I say, do you value freedom over security? Now, because
I'm
now
going to say yes. I hear it now. Over security. In other words, I value them both, but I value freedom more. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, that makes sense. Because the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
But those who sacrifice security in fact, that their freedom for the sake of security are ultimately going to have neither.
That's right.
And what was the saying? There are some people that are so enamored of equality that they'd rather be equal in slavery than unequal in freedom. Right. I'd rather be unequal in freedom,
yes,
and willing to pick up a rifle and shoot and kill whoever I have to in order to remain free.
Fully.
I mean, if I die tomorrow fighting for freedom, so be it. Mm-hmm. I can't say I'm going to miss this world all that much.
Not these days. I agree.
Oh yeah, definitely not these days. But for me, freedom is worth dying for.
Yes.
Now, I'm not expecting you to have that same resolve, and not to be judging you. I mean, understand that's typically not something women have as part of their morality.
Right.
No, women generally prefer. And that's totally fine. I'm not even judging you for it because that's just part of women's nature. I think it actually works in their favor because if women were the same way, and women were getting killed alongside of men, then that would actually be detrimental to a tribe.
Exactly.
It's kind of like how with how men will sacrifice themselves for the women and children of the tribe, because if there's only like one or two men left, then it only takes one or two men to repopulate the tribe if all the women survive. Oh, but if only one or two women survive, then only one or two women can get pregnant every 9 months, and that's not going to be good.
That's right. That's right. You can take that to the military. I'm almost fine with women being in the military, but they have to meet the exact same standards as men. Period. And so there's not going to be many that pass.
Oh yeah.
So I wouldn't yank women from the military, but except for medical, of course. Medical doesn't count, but in combat situations, you better be exactly equal. Not I pass the female requirements. That's crap.
Well, yeah, I can understand that, but as far as medical concerns, this is one thing that kind of concerns me when it comes to medics, is that let's say if there is a situation where everybody has to fight. Now, because even the medic, like especially the men, if they're under attack, then they have to, pick up arms and be able to shoot.
That's right.
And be able to shoot a moving target.
Yeah.
Now, and I'm not saying that women can't shoot a moving target, because obviously there are some that can. There were some in World War II that actually did pretty well as snipers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the best snipers.
Yep.
Right, but the best snipers have always been men, but I'm not saying that they're completely useless if they know what they're doing, that is. But that is something that has to be abundantly clear to them, because if you look at this example from Israel, they made this all-female troop, and they were bragging about how good they were and how hard and hardcore they were, until they actually got put into a battle. Some of them dropped their guns and ran. And yet some of them huddled behind rocks crying, wanting to go home. Now, if you're going to do that, even as a medic, then honestly, I don't know if I can actually trust you, especially when it comes to a serious war like World War I and World War II. Those were pretty serious wars. Those were the last two wars, from what I can remember, where we as Americans actually had an existential threat. And we've gone so long without an existential threat to the point where we've gotten soft.
Yeah.
Whereas countries that actually have existential threats to this day or have one in living memory, they haven't.
Mhm.
I bring this up a lot, but one of my favorite example is Serbia. They have existential threats all the time. They've been at war with the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years, and even the remnants of what remains of them to this day. I mean, they also have, their brethren, which they don't get along. I mean, I call them brethren, but they just don't get along.
Mhm.
So there's constantly someone out there wanting to destroy their country and claim it as their own. I mean, look at the Albania versus Kosovo thing. I mean,
Mhm.
well, I mean, I definitely did not support Clinton's decision to bomb Serbia in that regard, because, I mean, let's just say I had a conversation with an Albanian that's not a retard. I believe 90% of Albanians are retarded, and this guy, he said it so well to the point where just a lot of his Albanian friends just don't want to talk to him about why Albanians were wrong when they invaded Serbia and Greece. Now, I kind of went off on a tangent and forgot where I was going with that. Oh, wait, now I remember. But the thing is that if I can't trust you to not only stay on guard, shoot a weapon, not get scared when it goes boom,
Mhm.
but be able to fight alongside of me to the bitter end, as well as be able to drag me off the battlefield, give me a blood transfusion behind a mountain of dirt, and stitch me up while keeping your cool. I mean, not every man can do that.
Right.
I'm sure you're familiar with shell shock.
Right.
Shell shock was a huge thing. And it's already been scientifically proven that women are more susceptible to mental disorders like PTSD and shell shock.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, I believe the vast majority of women should not only not be in the service, but I believe a lot of them shouldn't be nurses either. That's just me.
Yeah, I'd rather have more in there, more bodies in there to rescue people. In other
Right.
words, yeah. And the ICU nurse mentality, male and female, and ER mentality, they're the ones I would see as less likely to fall apart in a combat situation.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're wired that way. And I'd rather have more people saving lives, more bodies there saving lives during the time that you can save lives. And and they have all the training. And most of those that would fall apart wouldn't have made it through the training.
Well, yeah, I definitely would have to agree with you there. Although the standards for the training don't exactly mean much nowadays.
I know, and that's what's a shame. That's why I think they've never been correct, because they lower the standards for women anyway, which is wrong from the beginning. And they are less for medical people, but as far as shooting guns and all that, they should have the exact same training and the exact same requirements.
Right, because even the cook has to pick up arms if necessary.
Right. Yep, that's exactly right. Yep. So I think, still as support, and then some women, and it might just be 5%, but they will be wired to do that. Because one thing that was a trait in females that I feel is going away in males and females, it could be soy, I don't know. But there is a protective nature that, the whole mama bear mentality. There are women that do take that on and will protect someone to the death.
And I respect that.
Yeah, I think that's, people are getting so selfish. I think that's going away. I don't know. I'm turning black pill as we speak, because I do have that in my system.
There's an upset shepherd in the background.
I know, that's my shepherd, and I've spent too much time away from this spoiled monster. So excuse him. I've pet him a couple times. But
not to worry.
Oh, you know what he wants.
yes, he wants.
Yeah.
He wants to play. It's time to guard the house and play stick.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. But yeah, I agree with everything you say so far, Mr. Shogun.
Well, thank you, Cass.
Oh, you're very welcome. You earned it.
I try.
So
Like I said, you're welcome to keep hanging around.
oh my
There
gosh,
were
yes.
some questions asked earlier, and we kind of, speaking of rabbit holes, we went
Yep,
down one.
I hope everyone's okay with that.
So I do want to have Seek's question
Okay.
answered,
Okay, is this the
if you're able to do so. It's the one on the screen right here.
yes. Crossover with cluster B disorders. Oh yes. Actually, does there need to be so many? Okay, there are 4 cluster B disorders. There is a little crossover with each. So you can distinguish them. But I think they all stem, and I've read a lot of studies on this, they do all stem from previous abuse. I'll say 85%. And it could be more because psychology is only less of a science because you do rely on people's self-reports and people lie. But I would be free to guess that narcissism and borderline are practically the same, but they demonstrate themselves differently with male and female. So males will come out showing more narcissism, and that's probably testosterone related, and females will come out showing more borderline. But their history is probably very similar. In other words, their nature versus nurture, their nurture is probably similar. The histrionic, that's so close to borderline that you can hardly distinguish it. Frankly, I've never even seen that one diagnosed. Sociopath, I think that one is more nature. So you can have a sociopathic narcissist in that the personality is narcissism, but the sociopathology might be there's a genetic propensity. For instance, you can see brain scan differences when somebody loses their emotional part. You can actually see that on fMRI. They won't light up in emotional situations. And now you're looking at sociopathic/psychopathic tendencies where they completely lack empathy. Whereas narcissists have empathy, but it's more of a cold empathy. They know what the person's thinking, but they don't care, or they use it instead of feeling it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, from everything I've seen and read, it's like narcissists, people with MPD have little to no empathy, but they may have a small understanding of it.
Oh, totally. It's how you understand the word empathy. Empathy is just being able to understand what others are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, narcissists, that they're such good manipulators because they do know they do know what the other person's feeling. They just, it's cold. They don't care. Exactly. Whereas a psychopath,
how can they use it?
Yes, exactly. And so that's where you see a huge difference. And that's the part of the empathy where people think narcissists don't have empathy, when in fact they actually do, but it's cold. It's calculating. Borderlines, they have absolutely no self-regulation over their emotions. Their brains light up all over the place, and they take a longer time to reset. So hence they appear more emotional, because they are. They're extremely needy, but you know what? So are narcissists. They just act like they're not. They pretend they're not, but they always need supply, narcissistic supply. They just go about it differently. So yeah, I ask a specific question, but that's where I stand. You're right. I think cluster Bs are pretty much the same thing, and they're differentiated by sexual characteristics, masculine and feminine. That doesn't mean a man can't be borderline, because men can be feminine and women can be masculine.
Sure.
So I have a feeling that's how it separates, but that's my own personal thoughts on having dealt with many more borderlines than narcissists, because narcissists, I'm talking clinically, narcissists won't seek treatment. They don't seek it, so I don't see them. Borderlines are in treatment all the time. They want the attention. So there's a total, that's the difference. Is Cass spiritual or religious? Yes, and somewhat yes. I believe that a society is better off having some spiritual connection or religious. I don't like the fundamentalist belief of any religion, but I think it's good to believe that there's something higher than yourself, rules to follow, everyone agrees with, and I think believing in God helps groups stick together better. It even shows this in genetics. They tend to have stronger genetics. So we are Darwin-wise, we're choosing, was that the right word? Not choosing, but we're selecting for religious belief when it comes to stronger genetics. There's a study on this, but so yes, I do consider myself religious, Christian-wise. But I don't agree with everything in the Bible. So there you go. Because socially, I'm more liberal. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. We hear you.
Mm-hmm.
I do lean more liberally on the social side, and economically, I'm more conservative. So I literally sit on the dot of the political spectrum, right in the middle, the cross. Which I'm not a fence sitter either, but it looks that way. Did that make sense?
Yes. All right. So you guys got any other questions? I know Dennis, you're welcome to come on.
Oh, I would love to meet Dennis. Again,
Yeah,
we've only spoken once.
Cassie has really wanted to have a conversation with you, Dennis.
Yes.
So,
one day I'd love to stream with you. Love to interview you. I eventually would like to interview anybody once I get my job locked down and get a decent schedule. I work night shifts, and that just totally screws me up. Night shift with 13 hours of wearing a mask. It's awful. Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, we're here.
I'm really good with silence, but when
all right.
here, I'm not so
Dennis
good.
Backstage, so welcome to the stream, Dennis. How you doing, buddy?
Hi,
Hey.
gents. Hi, Cassie. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm good.
Hello, Jaguar.
Hello, Aero Shogun. I've heard good stuff about you. I've seen a couple of your videos before.
Yeah.
Been hearing good stuff about you.
Thank you. I wish I could do more content. I've just been very busy lately.
Yeah,
That's
I understand.
Tony Crockett fan club right here. I just realized.
Oh, my God.
Well, yes, Sony Crockett rules.
Yeah.
Sonny
Love that
Crockett's
guy.
the one and only. The one and only.
A lot of people won't know
He's
what
not
we're
here.
talking about, but that's okay.
And Jaguar, I wanted to let you know, I did watch your video about the book idea, and it's very intriguing.
Do you think it's like a viable concept?
Absolutely.
Sweet.
I need to go back, and I had more thoughts on it. I'll have to go back and listen again, because
Sweet.
it's very intriguing. I wouldn't and I'm not the kind of person that would say that without truly believing it.
No, thank you so much. Thank you for that feedback.
My pleasure.
And I did have another thought on that, just to digress the stream a little bit. I was thinking about doing like separate stories from different people in the hierarchy of that society.
Mhm.
So that way it's not so much what they say that's scary, but it's like how they got there in
Right.
that position is what makes you go, oh,
So it's
the backlooking.
yeah. Yeah, that's really cool. Character developed through their point of view. in their
Yeah.
history. Yeah, very cool.
All right, we got the plumber backstage, and we're having a party.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, party time.
Originally told me
Right.
he wasn't gonna show up here, but looks like he wants to join. All right, I hope you're ready, plumber.
Right. Plumber.
Plumber,
Du-du-du-du-du-du.
you're on, buddy. All right, I hope you're ready, plumber.
Holy shit, hold on just a second. I gotta mute
Hear
something
myself.
here.
Yep.
There. How's it going, guys?
Well, how are you?
All right. Good. Good to hear
Keeping
from you,
class
Plumber.
and kicking ass.
It's been a while.
I know.
Yeah, it is.
No.
I've been busy with a little project. I've let a couple of you guys in on a few pictures.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I think I responded.
You did.
Okay.
It only took you 2 days, though.
I know, right? If you contact me in one of my work stretches, I am non-existent. I'm going to work and then recovering from work. Hi, Frank.
He really wants to play.
I think he needs and his own microphone and his own room so he can put his 2 cents.
I got video of him. I think I'm gonna use it in a video.
Oh, absolutely. He's a ham.
Yeah, I just got to figure out what I'm going to use it for, but I'm going to use it. Anyhow, so Dennis, Jaguar, do you have any questions for Cassie?
I was going to ask Cassie, what are your views on the manosphere, if that question hasn't been asked already? The manosphere in 2020, to be more specific.
Yeah, you got to be specific with the autismo.
Yeah, it's extremely specific. I think the manosphere, is that meaning still the red pill?
I guess the red pill spear is another way of putting it. Yeah.
Right. I addressed that earlier, and I do need to talk through these things because this is my first time doing this, and I need to pull my thoughts together, better. But I think the manosphere is necessary because so many spaces, physical spaces, have been invaded by females, and even I was reluctant to be there, but I was there to learn. I think men need men, and that's good. But I think some of it's being taken over by, I hate to use the word wrong, but some people are being held up and being believed like gods instead of challenging them. Does that
I was getting
make
ready
Yeah, there is
sense?
a level of demagoguery there.
There's narcissists and grifters that
Yes.
are, considered to be these, gurus or whatever. So I'm going to add to Jaguar's question. What do you think about the whole make women great again thing?
Ooh.
See where I'm going.
Oh boy.
Oh yes, oh boy. I think it's another grift, the actual one. But they're not wrong. I'm not sure. I think women.
Not wrong how, and that there's a problem, and that women.
Oh hell yeah, there's a problem. Women are
mirror and look at themselves.
Yeah, women are taught now basically to be men, and that is completely wrong, I think.
Oh my God. If you've seen the last tirade from Tommy Lahren, yeah.
Everybody's been talking about that. Yeah,
And that's I'm out of the loop on that.
I'll send you some links.
Okay.
You need to check them out.
Yeah, I think women do better regulating women. Men do better regulating men when we're all being who we're supposed to be.
Can I disagree there?
Well, wait, I have not done.
Okay.
But I was going to say, we still need input from the other side.
Well, I still disagree, and I'll tell you why. I think you're still living in this. Let's face it. You've lived your whole life in the gynocentric feminist preferred social order your whole life. So
No,
yeah, you have.
no, I haven't.
If you were born prior to 1960, you have been.
I disagree.
The feminist imperative, the number one feminist imperative is, and I'm going to quote Rollo here because he's right, never, ever do anything for the express pleasure of a man. That is the feminist priority. Therefore, anytime a woman defers to a man, that is by the social order seen as oppressive, or she's what do they call that when you've when basically you've accepted your own oppression. That's what they systematic patriarch. What do they call that?
I don't know what the term is, but I understand where you're going with this. Or like if a woman sees another woman do that, you know, they'll criticize them. Like, why are you doing that for him, or why are you letting him talk to you like that?
Yeah, and women are much more susceptible to shame and ostracization than masculinized men. And Cassie, I know you personally, you are not the normal woman. You fall outside of that.
It's
that
sad that I
shame.
take that as a compliment.
Yes, take it as a compliment because it's meant that way.
That's sad.
But the vast majority of women are of the sheep mentality.
Yes, but you've proved my point. Women will respond more to women and their shaming tactics, and they gang up on each other, et cetera, et cetera.
But who is the leader of Team Woman?
Right. But what I'm saying is this is where women who aren't like that need to step up.
Agreed. Okay. Men were dumb enough to hand the reins off, but now that we've handed the reins off, it's going to take good women to bring this back, if it can be brought back.
Right. And I don't know that it can.
I think it's too far gone.
Yeah. You're saying about the feminist imperative, if you do anything for the pleasure of a man, you're verboten. I mean, you're wrong, whatever. I grew up our feminists around, but they were still digging in they were still digging in. They hadn't gotten everybody yet. And I was right there at the hub in DC. So and yes, am I different? I mean, I am male brained, but I also know a lot of women who don't follow that. They're all still married, by the way, 30 years later.
Well, now you're falling into that Nawalt. You know, not all women are like that, and
they're not.
Well,
no,
it's a statistically insignificant amount that aren't.
Then I am really in a bubble where I see maybe 30% who absolutely don't go that way. And one time, I have very long hair. And one time when I went to a new job, because I'd been in a job for 15 years, and I went to a new job because of the thing with my mother. And when I came in one day, my hair was down. It rarely is. And they said, "Oh my gosh, I didn't realize your hair was so long." And I said, "Yeah, well, my husband really likes long hair." And there were 10 people there. And initially 8 of them were, "Are you kidding me? If my husband liked long hair, I'd cut it." And I looked at them And I said, what? Are you kidding me? When did this happen? And so I talked them through it. And I said, I don't look at myself. My husband looks at me. I love my husband. Why wouldn't I dress or look the way he prefers?
That's that indoctrination of never do anything for the express pleasure of a man.
Right. Well, listen, let me finish.
Okay.
3 of those women looked at me like they just heard a Martian speaking the truth. And they said, I never thought of it that way. And they, you know what I mean? They said, I really need to think about that.
Well, of course, because they were exposed to something that was not the narrative. And they were like, whoa, that's new.
Well, right. But my point is, just by that interaction, one woman, I said, my feeling about it, and the percentage, that tiny percentage you're talking about, had a chance of jumping to 40 or 50%. And more, if women will come out and, speak these truths and explain that it's not insulting that women tend to be more social, and you know what I mean? The fact
be more submissive.
I
don't want women should not be submissive to any man other than the one that they are attracted to.
Well, yes, that is true. And the same goes for men to women. I'm not using the word submissive there. But
no, we can use biblical terms, servant leader.
Sure. I've seen really bad male leaders.
Well, yeah, because they're assholes.
Okay, then no, they may not be assholes. They may just not be natural.
Chime in on this one.
Yeah, that's fine.
When it comes to male leaders, bad male leaders, is because people who aren't fit to lead like power. I can attest to that in the military.
I was just going to say, King Ahab.
I've had to deal with some bad leaders, and plus my time in government work, there are people who they just wanted power. They weren't fit to lead fucking anything.
So they turned into politicians, probably.
And that's pretty much how they did things. And some of them, big shocker, narcissists use divide and conquer, like try to get the squads to go against each other, so we didn't look at the person who was actually the problem, and of course also to justify their job. So yeah, I mean that's one of your problems, is people who aren't qualified to lead shit. Somehow maybe they know somebody, or they lied enough, or on the resume, whatever, what have you, they managed to get into that position.
Okay, this is a good question I have for you then. Both you, Wolf, and Cassie, and you, Shogun, too. Have you ever noticed that in these hierarchies of power, when it comes to promote and find who the best in the ranks to be promoted to the new position, the actual best leader would be the one that least wants it?
Oh, that's 100% true. Yep. They're the least likely to even apply. That is true.
You know what? I definitely have to agree with that, because it's the people that seem to be most competent. Like let's take what's example? Thomas Sowell, that's his name.
Oh.
Now, there are some people that say he should be president. But the thing is that he doesn't believe he's qualified. He says, "I'm not a politician. I focus on economics and so forth."
That's why. That's why he should be president.
Well, there's some fantastic potential leaders. G. Edward Griffin would be another one.
Read up on President Garfield.
I think Ted Cruz would do a good job.
Bingo, you're spot on, Cassie. So I noticed that I've spent 17 years as a police officer, and we did in ranks promotions occasionally when people would move on. And the ones that really wanted it were and they got it,
Most
were
dangerous.
always the worst
Yes.
leaders.
Yes, they are typically the most dangerous. That is absolutely true.
The ones that would be the best leaders were the ones that you had to beg them to even apply.
Right. You lift them up. Exactly.
You know,
It's
I
such
think
a
maybe I
strange
should do a
paradox,
video
but
about
it's true.
leadership. It's a video idea right there.
You better believe it.
So now you were talking about narcissists on the YouTube channels. Yes, the vast majority of prominent YouTube content providers are extreme narcissists.
Yeah.
And being a narcissist isn't bad. It's, are you a malevolent narcissist?
Well, there's that. Well, we can't confuse having narcissistic traits, which is not a bad thing.
Right.
Everyone needs some narcissism, some
Well, it's
narcissism.
healthy.
But
It's not the same
exactly,
as a disorder. It's not
exactly.
PD.
It's where do you cross the line? It comes to the disorder.
I mean, I get on camera, you know, for most of my shows or videos, and I mean, that could be counted as something narcissistic, but I do it for the purposes of being authentic, because I don't want to tell people that I'm a martial artist and, you know, how to be in shape when I'm a blob, right? You know, this.
I get it.
I believe there should be a balance between humility and pride.
Exactly.
You don't want too much humility, and you definitely don't want too much pride.
Yep, that's exactly right.
But
And those are the two sides of narcissism, by the way. Covert narcissism, too much humility. Overt narcissist or classical narcissist, too much pride.
Well, you can, if you look at the BDSM community right there, the covert narcissist is one who wants to top from the bottom, if you're familiar with that.
Yes. Which there also are non-narcissists in BDSM, I'm sure. I've never been in the community, so I don't know.
Well, I don't know much about it anyway either.
No,
I really don't. Other than I've heard the term, you know, topping from the bottom. That means controlling the relationship from the submissive
right.
point
The
of view.
submissive, the submissive actually is the one who has more control.
Correct.
And the dominant one, so the one in the dominant position, actually wants to be subverted. I think that's the right word.
Welcome to modern American marriage.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I just have to hold on the marriage thing that female and male need each other.
Well, we're better together than apart.
That is true. If everyone's playing the right role, I'm going to say that. But
You're right.
the most stable people are those who are actually more androgynous or genandrous. This is also, studies have proven this. They tend to have the least psychological disorders. They cope better, and, you know, everything. But I would then argue that, you know, a very masculine male with a very feminine female would also show a balance, as long as they don't cross into the toxic part of what that means.
I was just going to say that very same thing. You have to think of a relationship, should you choose to engage in one, as you're each, the addition of both of you equals 100%.
Yes.
If a man is 60% masculine and 40%, when I say feminine, I don't mean feminine, effeminate.
No, just feminine traits.
Right.
They exist, yes.
Then his perfect match would be a woman who is 60% effeminate, 40% masculine.
Exactly.
You know, so to find a a classically narcissistic woman who's high on the narcissism scale, she would be better off with a extremely masculinized man to counterbalance her extreme feminine traits, if she accepts it. And
Well-
she'll only accept it as long as she's attracted to that.
There's that. Well, you do know that overt narcissists do attract covert narcissists.
Well, of course they do. 'Cause
Male or
that's-
female. They
yeah,
respond.
they're both just as damaged, just in
Yeah.
different ways.
Exactly. They express their damage differently. Yep. Yeah.
Speaking of which, are you guys interested in checking out the Tommy Lauren video?
Oh, sure.
It's 14 minutes. We'll pause it periodically and critique it.
Okay.
Oh, this is a good one. Go for it.
All right, especially
right.
Cassie.
I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this.
Oh, this will be great. She's going to get to see a screen.
All right, let me know if you can hear this.
Okay.
Can you see it?
I can see it.
All right.
Can't hear it.
That's not the right one.
Yeah, I don't hear anything.
It took me off of that. Let me see here.
Yeah, that's not there yet. That's the one. That's it. Now get the audio working. You'll be good. Cassie, I want you to look at the microfacial expressions right from the beginning and tell me what you see.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Start it from the beginning once we get the audio
I'm
going.
gonna try to. I gotta try this again.
Yeah, I can let you know going in that I've seen a few things she's done, and I like what I've seen. So I don't know what this is going to do.
Is her video on YouTube?
It's a Facebook deal, but it's been transferred to YouTube.
I don't know if it copied the link. That's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, did you see her? Who is the?
She says she's not a feminist, but she's pro-abortion, which is the ultimate expression of hypergamy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, when you
and a lack of
Is
responsibility.
she pro-abortion or pro-choice? First of all,
What's the difference?
there's a huge difference, actually.
There ain't no difference.
There's a difference.
Not
There's a
there's not.
huge difference. I'm pro-choice in that you have a choice to get pregnant or not 98% of the time. And I don't care if that includes I'm going out to have a few drinks by myself or with girlfriends that are going to, quote, let me go home with someone.
Okay, I'll accept your redefinition of terms.
Okay. Well, that to me is the ultimate choice. Now, I'm not going to, let me put it this way. I'm not going to not have a friend because they've had an abortion. Or I've had two friends wanting to have abortions and I didn't support them in the sense of they knew I disagreed and I wasn't going to go to a clinic with them. By the way, neither of them ended up having the abortions, but I'm
Why were they having
definitely-
the abortions?
let me think. Okay, there were two. Both of them were obviously stupid choices, right? And to get pregnant. One didn't think she could get pregnant, was told she couldn't. And the other one, yeah, you can fart, but that's what she.
Anybody
was
else's
told.
bullshit detector just go off?
Yeah. My ex-wife said the same thing about me. I can't get pregnant.
And, some women are told they can't get pregnant after they've had a child because they've had, or you can, they've had a condition, what have you. It does happen that women, even married women who are told they can't get pregnant and made their whole life around, we're not going to have kids, then oops, they get pregnant. So, I mean, it does really exist, but there also are liars out there, granted. But can't assume that everyone's lying. That is such a fallacy. But anyhow, neither of them.
Why the fuck you lying? Why you all?
That's fine. That doesn't take away the fact that I just spoke the truth. But anywho, both of them ended up having kids.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't calling you a liar. I was just having fun.
No. Oh, I know. No, like I said, I am almost unoffendable, which I know that goes out as a challenge, but it's really true.
Oh, it's definitely a challenge to me, but I'm not going to challenge you tonight.
That's okay.
One of these times I'm gonna get this right.
Yeah,
Oh
I'll quit with the sound effects though.
Oh no, they're funny.
Yeah, this is Rifle Stream, and I want to respect the stream.
All right.
Let me know if you can hear this.
All right.
Nope.
Motherfucker. Well, maybe some other time.
I can tell you she is extremely self-confident, almost to the point of self-righteousness. I mean, I'm just looking at her. I'm looking at her
I'm
expression.
gonna send you the link to that.
Oh, son's in the house.
Your opinion of her.
Damn. I was gonna
Hey,
put that back on, and just when she first starts, I want Cassie to see the smirk she gives.
That's why I said what I said. I said she looks almost self-righteous.
within the first minute
Yes.
or two, she says
Right away.
all men are trash, and then proceeds.
That is classic cluster B expression right there. That's a micro expression of cluster B.
Basically the dude she was gonna marry or whatever. I don't know if he banged somebody else or whatever. The bottom line is she got out of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all like the entire thing it's all men's fault. She never takes any responsibility
God.
for
Classical
women
cluster.
doing anything wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
a
gonna summarize it.
And then she
said
says,
some of the same stuff you said. All these other friends that she knows, have these same problems.
Oh, jeez.
I know all these women, these high value women.
all men are trash. They don't know how to be men.
They all have the same problem, and men are acting like boys, and blah blah blah.
And then she turns around and says, "I'm not a feminist. I love men."
God. Oh my God.
Basically, hose mad.
Yeah, and she's in what she's in is the equivalency is equivalent to red pill rage. She's just talking trash.
She had, I guess, a high value dude she was going to marry. I guess he was a politician or something.
Well, there's your first mistake.
Well, she got a $50,000 engagement ring.
Yeah, and
$50,000.
it ended, and she hosed her mad. That's basically the summary. And she, because she's, heading for that epiphany phase.
Well, there's another issue with her, and I don't want to spoil it too much, but she is of the opinion she is a high value, get her done woman, don't need no man. In other words, she is living her life as a high value man, and she is so solipsistic that she thinks that men are attracted to the same thing she's attracted to in a man. She can't think for a minute that there might be men out there who desire something completely opposite of her.
Right, she can't see that.
Yeah, because of her solipsism.
Right.
And she won't see that until it's too late.
Oh, exactly.
But that is more a condition. That is more narcissism,
Mm-hmm.
clinical narcissism, than it is female. Does that make sense?
Well,
Yeah.
That's where everyone's making a huge mistake. They're confusing female and male narcissism and calling it female and male nature. And that is a huge mistake I see so many people making.
Well, I think if you were to gauge men and women equally on the scale of narcissism, the vast majority of women would tend to hit higher on the scale of narcissism than men do on average.
And that's the absolute opposite. It's 80,
No, men
20.
actually score higher statistically that they do. I've seen the literature for that.
Men score higher on narcissism, women on borderline. And I think it's the same disorder that's enhanced by, frankly, hormones. But I would say that those cluster Bs are the same. They just express themselves differently.
You know what? You hit on a good point. The hormones, men's hormone values don't change much other than throughout his age. The older he gets, his testosterone drops. However, women experience a 28-day roller coaster.
Yeah, it's
of
awful.
emotions.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
And I'm a high T female, and it was awful. But I could say to my husband, let me know when I'm acting crazy, when I'm just tell me, and I could immediately change over and go, oh shit, you're right, So, and I've heard that when I told my brother this, he was astounded because he's like, oh no, my wife couldn't ever do that. Turns out she's borderline, but
well, you basically recognize that you have a deficiency and you were deferring to his nature.
His observations, of course.
That's great because, and I did the same thing. My middle daughter, she came over for a visit one time, and oh boy, was she bitchy. And I called her out on it, and she looked at me and said, well, I am on the rag. And I flat told her right then and there, I said, I know you don't feel good right now, but that's nobody's fault.
It's no excuse.
That's no excuse, and that's nobody's fault. You don't feel good. You just deal with it. You lock yourself in your room. You do whatever you have to do.
Or medicate or change your diet.
Whatever you have to do.
Right.
But don't you bring your bitchiness out to the rest of us because we didn't do anything. You know what she did? Never. I never had any more trouble with her from that point forward.
And that's how it should be. That's, that's where another problem is with responsibility. That's gone down the tubes, societally. And, accepting criticism. Jesus.
Yeah, but these narcissists just can't even accept any criticism.
Oh, no.
And not like you guys personally in the panel. It's not you guys. I just meant the populace.
No, that's exactly. Yep. And that's
it's just gotten to this point where everyone who has those traits are so charged within their own selves and their own egos and whatnot, whatever you want to conceptualize it as, that they can't accept any criticism. Left wing, and for some people, also right wing too.
That's right. That's absolutely correct.
And then it's like, when you challenge that, you're challenging that person's very identity. And that's dangerous. That's very dangerous territory.
Yep. That's when they lock down because their egos are threatened.
Yeah.
All right. We're about to wrap up. First of all, let me say thank you all for coming on the panel. It's been a great show. I wasn't sure how it was going to turn out, but it turned out awesome.
Well, thanks for having me.
Oh, I absolutely enjoyed all of you. This is wonderful. We need to get
Yes.
together more often.
We'll have to do.
Definitely. Thanks for having me too.
Yeah,
Oh, anytime, Dennis. Anytime.
and thanks
Shogun.
for the late invite.
Oh,
Yeah.
Plumber, you're always
Well,
invited.
kind of
Thank
showed up
you.
late.
Time is on fire.
That's okay, yo. We know you're a busy man. Speaking of which, let's get some final thoughts. We'll start with Shogun. Final thoughts. Where can we find you? What are you working on?
Okay, well, you can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/c/AeroShogun. It's been a while since I've done a video because I've been quite busy lately and largely distracted from making content. There's been all kinds of videos that I've been wanting to do. I've wanted to continue the California Blues series, which people seem to really like. Wanted to do some commentary on some other recent events that not a lot of people seem to be talking about, as well as some other perspectives, as well as do one more Boozing and Losing series, which people seem to praise me for. Not a whole lot of people come to my channel for that, but there are a select few people that do enjoy that series, so that's why I continue it. I am also on BitChute and MGTOW.tv, but I actually need to keep those channels more up to date. Other than that, just wanted to say, it was a pleasure talking to you, Cass. Never got to talk to you before, but it's been a pleasure.
Oh, you as well. Please friend me on Discord.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Or whatever
you do that too.
Whatever that means. Add me. I think I'm Cassie O. Troy.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Mm-hmm.
She
So
should
if you
be
see-
in Roseblade server if you're in.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, found you.
That's where you
Awesome.
guys can find her.
Awesome, because I have a lot of questions for you.
Okay.
All right.
All right, there we go.
What are you up to, man? Seems like he may have stepped away.
Plumber or me?
No, you.
Oh, somebody saying my name. I guess I had a little internet dropout. What?
No, we're going clockwise. It's Jaguar. What are you up to?
All right.
Where can we find you?
So I do have a few ideas for some pre-recorded videos, but I don't have a lot of time because I'm actually back at university now. Having said that, I am also in the process of upgrading my tech so that way I can have Vegas Studio up and running, a better computer,
I recommend it. Yeah.
etc., etc. And then I might cover one video that's been on my mind, which is about the red pill and civil dissidents, based on Henry Thoreau and how it may apply to the red pill.
Nice.
All right, now you're up, Plumber. What are you up to? I know some of what you're up to because I'm over with it. But
Well, first I got a question.
Sure.
Teutonic Holy Blade said Plumber OP. What does that mean, OP?
sometimes that means overpowered.
Okay.
You're too strong.
Am I overmodulating?
It's just too Chad. It's just too Chad for us.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what that means. Yeah.
okay. Just working on a couple of my little business ventures. I'm got another little hobby thing I've got going on with building an ultimate saltwater fish aquarium for a friend of mine. And as far as my red pill journey,
Are you making content?
no, I haven't made any content, but I'm trying to figure out how to make the content because I'm shifting more away from the manosphere because I think all of the things the manosphere talk about are symptoms of the greater disease. And I want to produce
Solutions?
some awareness and solutions. Cassie, you know what I'm talking about is I think all of these symptoms are a result of the communist plank of the centralized bank fiat money system with a heavy progressive income tax. I think if we can solve that problem, I think we can rid a lot of these social ills that we see right now. They will just naturally fall away, but I'm having a hard time coming up with a way to present that in a palatable way.
Yeah, we have to figure it out, man. I have the same issue sometimes where I'll have a good idea or what I think is a good idea, but then I sit down and I try to think about it, and I'm like, man, how do I actually say this? How do I articulate this in a way that would be interesting instead of like a snooze fest? So,
bingo.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because economics, people really don't want to. That's snoozing to them. That's boring.
Yeah, for most people, not everybody. Some people, certain guy that likes to do Bitcoin shows every Thursday. So,
yeah, I don't know if I can handle that spaz all the time.
Well, I mean, I like the guy.
He's a likable guy. He's just.
I know you had an arch enemy that was big on Bitcoin, so you're kind of.
Yeah, I got a little hard on for that scam. I can see a value in Bitcoin. However, in its current iteration, it's not ever going to be anything of value simply because the transaction costs are too expensive. You can't use it as cash. If you could.
What's bummer? Let's not go down that rabbit hole. We're trying.
All right.
To finish.
All right.
Trying to finish, brother. Maybe.
All right.
Maybe we can have a
Good night, Grace.
Where you can talk about it. But it's definitely good to have had you on. You seem to be a fan favorite already.
It's my pleasure.
Favorite show. Before we go, one thing I did mention that I wanted to talk about before we left, and that was solutions. That was ways we pointed out sort of some of the problems. How can people sort of work through these issues like depression and other issues without having to go see a doctor if they don't want to do that? Obviously, if it's extreme, they need to see a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
But are other like at-home ways and techniques maybe to help people overcome some of these problems?
Right. The most important things to do, paramount to cure, I'm not going to use the word cure, alleviating depression. And this is the hardest thing to do. Number one, you have to get plenty of sleep and stay on a regular schedule. Number two, you have to get exercise and sunshine. Those are so paramount. Number three, and you can start with 3 first, is you've got to find a balanced diet. And we can talk long and hard about balanced diets. You know how I am. I'm keto Jesus, as I'm called by some.
That's right.
I am a high proponent of low carb / full keto, even carnivore diet. I've seen so many positive results from that, and others. I'm doing it myself because after menopause, I needed to. Trust me. So those 3 things are top. Now, another big one, because those 3 things are very hard to start when you're in depression. That's the problem, is motivation. So you must talk to somebody. I'm not talking about a doctor, therapist, whatever. I'm talking about a friend. Even getting online and reaching out to people. That is so helpful and so important, especially now where we are completely removed socially or physically. We've got to stay connected. As corny as that sounds, most humans are social beings, and sitting around in your head all the time is very detrimental. So those are the top 4. And then another big one that I find is having a pet to take care of. It really does help tremendously, because you have something relying on you, and they will love you unconditionally. And sometimes I've seen that work as a first step for people. Yeah, so those are, and I can go into detail in another talk, I too am going to be starting 2 channels, one where I am going to be anonymous, and then another where I'm going to be me, and they'll stay separate unless you're my close friend because of this whole doxing nonsense, or I need to get out of my job. So those are the things I'm doing. But yes, get your schedule organized, sleep, get your diet in line, get rid of, especially sugar, refined sugar, get gluten out. I promise you it makes a difference. And that's what you find in wheat, breads, wheat products. Get corn out, get exercise. And by that, I mean both cardio and weightlifting, because you need weight resistance, vitamin D. And then in coronavirus, I also say zinc and vitamin C. I promise you it is effective. I don't care what these doctors are saying. Some of them, the ones who are promoting it, are being yeeted off of YouTube. And then reaching out to people. Those 5 things are extremely important. And I'm not against medication. I'm used to be long ago, but the St. John's wort is actually Prozac, and I'm not talking about long term, but it will boost your serotonin and help you get over a hump, maybe. So I hope that helps.
Yeah,
I didn't have a list. That's off the top of my head.
Very good advice. I mean, I did a lot of working out, a lot of lifting, and those endorphins.
Yes,
feels good.
Oh yes, it increases endorphins, testosterone. It increases. It recycles the is it ghrelin, and there's the other one, so that you actually burn more fat. It also increases epinephrine. So in these one workout where you get your heart rate up and you're lifting weights will keep these hormones going for up to 72 hours. So it's paramount, and you only have to do 5 minutes where you get your heart rate that up and you sweat a little bit and you feel muscle pain. When you have those 3 symptoms, you're increasing all those positive hormones. So there you go. I promise you it will work. Promise.
All right. Appreciate that. Well,
anytime.
I'd like to thank you all for coming here. It's been a great show, and we're going to leave it off here. So everybody, thank you for watching, by the way, too, and participating. Made it a better show for me.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate all of you. I can't wait to get to know all of you better.
Awesome. She will eventually be having her own channel.
Yes.
We'll get there sometime.
Cool.
Okay. But all right, we are going to eat ourselves out of here. Hope you
All
guys
right.
have a good one.
All right.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye.